The asteroid graveyard stretched for millions of kilometers in every direction. Captain Elena Vasquez stared at the debris field through the cracked viewport of the Resilience, her salvage ship. Broken pieces of ancient alien vessels floated like metallic ghosts in the endless dark. "Another empty field," muttered Torres, her first mate. He leaned back in his chair, which was actually 3 different chairs welded together. 2 weeks, and nothing worth taking home. Elena didn't answer. Her eyes tracked something on the scanner display. The screen flickered every few seconds. They had tried to fix it many times, but it kept breaking, like everything else on their ship. This was normal for humanity now. 2,000 years had passed since the Great Collapse. Every advanced civilization in the galaxy had simply vanished. Their great cities went dark. Their mighty fleets stopped moving. Their technology failed, all at once, for reasons nobody understood. Humanity had survived, but only barely. Earth had been primitive back then. Humans had not yet learned to travel faster than light. They lived on one planet and a few small colonies. When the collapse came, humanity was too simple to fall. They had nothing advanced enough to break. Now, humans were the scavengers of a dead galaxy. They picked through ruins, sold scrap metal, and held their ships together with whatever they could find. Other species called them cockroaches. The insult didn't bother Elena. Cockroaches survived when everything else died. "Wait," Elena said, pointing at the scanner. "That signature. It's different." Torres squinted at the screen. "Looks like another wreck to me." "No, look at the power reading. Something is still active in there." The Resilience moved closer, its engines coughing and sputtering. The ship was a patchwork of parts from a dozen different vessels. The hull showed at least 7 different types of metal plating. Some sections were held on with actual tape. Advanced alien tape, sure, but still tape. The derelict came into view. It was massive, easily 10 times the size of the Resilience. The ship's design was beautiful, all smooth curves and elegant lines. It belonged to the architects, an ancient race that had vanished like all the others. "I'm detecting life support," said Chen from the engineering station. He was the newest crew member, barely 20 years old. "And something else. Captain, there's an active power core in there." Elena's heart started beating faster. An active power core from before the collapse? That was impossible. Everything from that era had died centuries ago. "Suit up," she ordered. "We're going in." The boarding party consisted of Elena, Torres, and Chen. They crossed the dark space between ships using magnetic boots and safety cables. The ancient vessel's airlock still worked, which was surprising. Elena expected everything to be dead. Inside, the ship was like a tomb. Emergency lights cast red shadows down empty corridors. The walls were covered in a language nobody could read anymore. The architects had left no survivors, no teachers, nothing but silent buildings and dead ships. They moved deeper into the vessel. Chen's scanner led them down 3 levels to the engineering section. What they found there made Elena stop breathing. The FTL core. It sat in the center of a massive chamber, suspended by beams of force that still glowed with power. The core was a sphere of impossible materials, 3 meters across, pulsing with soft blue light. This was the technology that had let the ancient civilizations cross the galaxy in days. This was what humanity had never learned to build. "Is it real?" Torres whispered. Chen approached slowly, his scanner held out. "It's real, and it's functional. Barely, but yes, this core is still alive." Elena did the math in her head. A working FTL core was worth more than Earth itself. She could sell it to the Concordat, the coalition of struggling alien species trying to rebuild. They would pay anything for this. Her crew would be rich. She could retire, buy a real ship, live in comfort for the rest of her life. "Captain?" Torres was watching her face. "What do we do?" Elena looked at the core for a long moment. She thought about Earth, about the millions of humans scattered across dead space stations and struggling colonies. She thought about the children growing up in ruins, learning to fix broken things because nothing new was ever made. "We take it," she said, "but we don't sell it." "What?" Chen looked confused. "Captain, this is our chance to," Elena interrupted. "We build a ship around it, a human ship, with an FTL drive." Torres laughed. It was not a happy sound. "Captain, we don't know how to build FTL ships. Nobody does. That knowledge died with the architects." "Then we figure it out," Elena said. "We're good at making things work that shouldn't work. Look at the resilience. Half that ship is held together with hope and spare wire. But it flies." "This is different," Chen protested. "This is technology we don't understand." Elena turned to face them both. 2,000 years ago, humans lived in caves. We didn't understand electricity or engines or spaceflight. But we learned. We always learn. We take things apart and put them back together until we understand them. That's what makes us human. Getting the core out was the hard part. It took them 3 days to carefully disconnect it from the ancient ship systems. The whole time, Elena expected it to stop working. But it didn't. The core kept pulsing with that soft blue light. They brought it aboard the Resilience and hid it in the cargo hold behind crates of scrap metal. Then Elena set a course for the old Gamma Station, a forgotten outpost where no questions were asked. As they jumped to faster-than-light speed, using the Resilience's slow old drive, Elena sat in her captain's chair and thought about what she had just done. She had turned down the wealth of a lifetime. She might have doomed her crew. But she had also taken the first step towards something bigger. Humanity didn't need the best tools. Humans had never had the best tools. They had survived this long by making the worst tools work anyway, by learning, adapting, and refusing to give up. Now, they had something the ancient civilizations had built. Something perfect and advanced and completely beyond human understanding. Which meant it was time to make it work the human way. With duct tape, spare parts, and stubborn determination. Elena smiled. This was going to be interesting. Gamma Station looked like it was held together by prayers and rust. The old outpost floated in empty space, far from any major trade routes. Perfect for people who wanted to stay hidden. Elena guided the Resilience into the docking bay, which was really just a pressurized cave carved into an asteroid. "Home sweet home," Torres muttered. They had been here before. Gamma Station was where ships came when they needed repairs that weren't exactly legal, or when they had cargo that couldn't be traced. The station master, a woman named Kodova, asked no questions as long as you paid your docking fees. Elena gathered her crew in the cargo hold. Besides Torres, there was young Rivera on engineering, Nakamura on weapons, and Jackson on communications. 5 people total. Not much of a crew, but they were loyal. "Here's the situation," Elena said. "We have an FTL core worth more than all our lives combined. We can't sell it, because the moment we do, every power-hungry group in the galaxy will come after us. So we're going to do something crazy." She pulled back the tarp covering the core. It sat there, glowing softly, beautiful and alien. "We're going to build a ship around it." The crew stared at her. Rivera spoke first. "Captain, with respect, we don't know anything about FTL technology." "We'll learn," Elena said simply. "With what money?" Nakamura asked. "Building a ship costs millions. We have maybe 50,000 credits to our name." Elena smiled. "Then we build a 50,000 credit ship. Better yet, a 50-cent ship. We use scrap, salvage, and anything we can trade for. We build it the human way." Torres laughed. "You're serious? You actually want to build an FTL vessel out of junk?" "Why not? We've been living on junk for 2,000 years. We know junk better than anyone. The meeting broke up with the crew looking doubtful. Elena didn't blame them. She was asking them to do the impossible. But impossible was just another Tuesday for humanity. The next day, Elena went looking for someone specific. Dr. James Chen lived in the lower levels of Gamma Station, in a tiny workshop filled with alien technology. He was 60 years old, with gray hair and hands scarred from decades of working with sharp metal. Chen had once been the top alien technology researcher in human space. Then he published a paper saying that trying to rebuild the ancient civilization's technology was a waste of time. He said humans should focus on understanding the principles, not copying the designs. The academic community had destroyed him for it, called him a traitor to progress. Elena found him taking apart a piece of ancient machinery with careful precision. "I need your help." He didn't look up. "I don't do consulting work anymore. I have an active FTL core. I want to build a ship around it." Now he looked up. His eyes were sharp and intelligent. "You're joking." "I'm not." Chen studied her face for a long moment. Then he smiled. It was a tired smile, but genuine. "Show me." Back at the ship, Chen examined the core for 3 hours. He didn't touch it, just looked and scanned and made notes. Finally, he stood up. "It's dying," he said, slowly, but yes. "In maybe 5 years, it will be dead." "Can we use it before then?" Elena asked. "Maybe, if you can build a ship around it that doesn't kill everyone aboard." Chen paused. "Every other species is trying to rebuild the old technology exactly as it was. They're failing because they don't understand the principles. They're just copying what they see." "And you understand the principles?" "I spent 30 years studying why the ancient technology failed during the collapse. I know the answer now." Chen looked at the core. They over-specialized. Their ships, their cities, their entire civilization ran on interconnected systems. When one part failed, everything failed. They had no backup plans, no redundancy. They were too perfect. Elena nodded slowly. "So we build imperfect." "Exactly. We build a ship that can fail in 100 places and still fly. We use multiple systems that don't depend on each other. We make it so ugly and complicated that it shouldn't work. But it does." "That's how every human ship works already," Torres said. Chen smiled wider. "Exactly. That's why I think this crazy idea might actually succeed." The work began the next day. Elena traded every credit she had for materials. They bought hull plates from a destroyed colony ship, navigation computers from 6 different alien species, none of them compatible, weapons made from modified mining lasers, life support systems cobbled together from spare parts. Everything was cheap, broken, or both. Chen directed the construction with the confidence of someone who knew exactly what he was doing. He showed them how to wire the alien FTL core into human-built systems. It shouldn't have worked. The technology was completely different, operating on principles human science barely understood. But Chen had a gift for making things work together. He used adapters made from scrap. He rewired circuits in ways that would make any proper engineer cry. He connected systems with actual copper wire when the fancy alien connections wouldn't fit. "This is insane," Rivera said, watching Chen connect an ancient architect power relay to a human main capacitor using parts from a broken radio. "This is engineering," Chen corrected. "Real engineering. Not the theoretical stuff they teach in schools. This is understanding what you're working with, and making it do what you need." The ship grew slowly. It looked nothing like the elegant ancient vessels. The hull was a patchwork of different metals, each section a different color. The engines were mismatched, taken from 4 different ships. The bridge had controls from human ships, alien ships, and some that Chen built himself from spare parts. Elena named it 50-cent Freedom, because it looked like something built for 50 cents, and because it represented something priceless. 3 months into construction, their luck ran out. The scanner alarm screamed. Jackson's voice came over the intercom. "Captain, we have incoming ships. Multiple signatures. It's the Hegemony Corporation fleet." Elena's blood went cold. The Hegemony Corporation was a group of alien businessmen who controlled most of the salvage trade. They had spies everywhere. Someone must have talked about the FTL core. "How long until they arrive?" Elena asked. 20 minutes. The 50-cent Freedom was only half built. The hull wasn't sealed. The weapons weren't installed. But the FTL drive was connected. Chen had made sure of that first. "Can we fly?" Elena asked Chen. He looked around the incomplete ship. "Fly? Maybe. Jump to FTL? Absolutely not recommended. The ship isn't balanced. The power distribution is untested. We could tear ourselves apart." "But it might work?" Elena said. Chen met her eyes. It might work. Elena made her decision. "Everyone aboard. We're leaving." The crew scrambled to gather their tools and supplies. The Hegemony ships were getting closer. Elena could see them on the scanner now. 8 vessels, all bigger and better armed than the Resilience. She sat in the captain's chair of the 50-cent Freedom for the first time. The controls felt strange under her hands. Half of them she didn't even recognize. "All crew, strap in," she announced. "This is going to be rough." Chen sat at the engineering station. His hands moved across controls that were literally labeled with handwritten sticky notes. "Power to engines. FTL core is active. Captain, I need to warn you." "I know the risks," Elena said, "but we didn't come this far to give up now." The Hegemony ships opened fire. Energy blasts hit Gamma Station's shields. Elena pushed the throttle forward. The 50-cent Freedom shuddered, groaned, and then lurched out of the docking bay. It flew like a drunk elephant, wobbling and tilting. FTL in 3, 2, 1. The universe twisted. The incomplete ship screamed as forces it wasn't built to handle tore at its frame. Alarms shrieked. The lights flickered and died, then came back on. And then they were flying faster than light, in a ship built from 50 cents and a dream. Elena started laughing. She couldn't help it. They had done the impossible. Behind them, the Hegemony fleet stared at their scanners in disbelief. The humans had just done it again. The 50-cent Freedom tumbled out of FTL space like a drunk falling down stairs. Alarms screamed from every corner of the ship. Smoke filled the bridge. Somewhere in the back, something was on fire. "Someone put that out," Elena shouted over the noise. Rivera ran past with a fire extinguisher. The sprinkler system kicked on, spraying everyone with recycled water that smelled faintly of mold. But they were alive. They had survived their first FTL jump in a half-built ship. "Where are we?" Torres asked, wiping water from his face. Chen checked his instruments. Half the screens were cracked, but they still worked. "The Desolate reaches. We jumped randomly, just trying to get away from the Hegemony." The Desolate reaches. Elena felt a chill, despite the smoke and heat. These were the most dangerous regions in the known galaxy. During the collapse, something had gone wrong here. Reality itself had become unstable. Space folded in strange ways. Time didn't always flow correctly. Ancient weapons drifted through the void, still active after 2,000 years. Other species avoided the reaches. Their ships were too advanced, too sensitive to the reality fluctuations. The unstable regions made their navigation systems go crazy. But human ships were already half broken. They were designed to work when things went wrong. In a way, the reaches were perfect for humanity. "We need repairs," Chen said, looking at the damage reports scrolling across his screen. "Major repairs. The FTL jump stressed the hull beyond safety limits." "We also need to hide," Elena added. "The Hegemony will be looking for us, and once word spreads about our FTL drive, everyone will be looking for us." Nakamura spoke up from the weapons station. "I'm picking up a signal. Human origin, about 2 light hours from here. Elena felt hope stir. Human? Out here? Looks like a mining colony. Small. They're broadcasting a general welcome on old Earth frequencies. Elena made the decision. Set course. Let's see if our fellow humans can help us. The mining colony was called New Haven, which was funny because it looked like hell. A cluster of pressurized domes clung to a massive asteroid. The structures were built from salvaged ship parts, sealed with some kind of adhesive foam. Solar panels covered every surface, most of them cracked or damaged, but still producing power. The colony had maybe 200 people. They came out to stare as the 50-cent Freedom limped into their small docking area. The ship was too big to fit properly, so Elena had to park it half outside, connected to the dock by extending airlock tubes. The colony leader was a woman named Sarah Park. She was 40 years old, but looked 60, worn down by years of hard living. She greeted Elena with a firm handshake and a suspicious look. "We don't get many visitors out here," Sarah said, "especially not in ships like that." "It's a long story," Elena replied. Sarah's eyes narrowed. "I bet it is. Come inside. We'll talk." Over weak tea made from recycled plant matter, Elena explained everything: the FTL core, the half-built ship, the hegemony fleet chasing them. Sarah listened without interrupting. When Elena finished, Sarah was quiet for a long moment. Then she laughed. It was a hard, bitter laugh. "You crazy idiots actually did it. You built an FTL ship from scrap." "Half a ship," Elena corrected. "Still more than anyone else has managed in 2,000 years. Sarah leaned back in her chair. "You know what this means, right? If word gets out, every power in the galaxy will come after you. The Concordat, the Hegemony, the Syndicate, all of them. They'll kill you and take that core." "I know. So why do it? Why not sell the core and live rich?" Elena thought about her answer carefully. "Because I'm tired of humanity being the cockroaches of the galaxy. We survive, yes, we endure, but we never thrive. We never build anything new. We just pick through the ruins of dead civilizations and hope to find scraps." She met Sarah's eyes. This FTL core could change that. If we can make it work with human technology, we can connect all the scattered human colonies, Earth, the outer settlements, places like New Haven. We could become a real civilization again instead of just survivors. Sarah considered this. Pretty words, but we've survived this long by staying small and hidden. Drawing attention gets you killed. Maybe, Elena admitted, but I'm willing to take that risk. Over the next few days, New Haven's engineers helped repair the 50-cent Freedom. They had experience making impossible repairs. When you lived in the desolate reaches, everything broke constantly. You either learned to fix it, or you died. Chen worked alongside the colonists, trading knowledge. They showed him tricks for sealing hull breaches with materials that shouldn't work, but did. He taught them about adapting alien technology to human systems. Elena spent time talking to the colonists. She learned that New Haven was one of dozens of small human settlements scattered through the reaches. They survived by mining rare materials that formed in the unstable space regions. They traded with each other through a network of old communication buoys. It was a hard life, but it was a human life, built on human terms. On the 5th day, the alarms went off again. "Ships incoming," Nakamura reported. "Multiple signatures. Big ones." Elena rushed to the observation dome. She could see them now, appearing at the edge of the system. 12 massive warships, their hulls marked with the symbol of the Concordat. The Concordat was a coalition of alien species trying to hold civilization together after the collapse. They had money, weapons, and desperation. They wanted the FTL core badly. "They found us," Torres said quietly. Sarah Park stood beside Elena. "You need to run. We can't help you fight them." "I know. I won't ask you to. Elena turned to her crew. Everyone to the ship. We leave in 10 minutes. The colonists helped them load supplies, food, water, spare parts, everything they could carry. Sarah grabbed Elena's arm as she was boarding. There's a place, Sarah said, deep in the reaches, the Shattered Sphere. It's the ruins of an ancient Dyson sphere that broke apart during the collapse. The space there is so unstable that big ships can't navigate it. But a small ship, a crazy ship like yours, might make it through. Why tell me this? It was sad. Because you're trying to build something. That's more than the rest of us have done. Good luck, Captain. The 50-cent Freedom launched just as the Concordat fleet entered weapons range. Energy blasts lit up the space around New Haven. But the colonists had shields, old and patched but functional. They would survive. Elena pushed the ship hard, diving deeper into the reaches. The Concordat ships followed. They were faster, better armed, more advanced in every way. But they didn't understand the reaches like humans did. Elena flew through zones where space itself twisted. The Concordat ships had to slow down, their navigation computers going haywire. But the 50-cent Freedom's navigation was already half broken. It didn't know enough to be confused. They dodged through debris fields from ancient battles. The Concordat ships flew in careful formation. Elena flew straight through it, trusting her human reflexes and the ship's ability to take damage. Captain, they're gaining, Torres warned. Then it's time to see how crazy we can really be, Elena said. Ahead, the Shattered Sphere appeared on their scanners. It was massive, even broken. Sections of the ancient structure floated in a vast cloud, each piece the size of a planet. Between them, space rippled and folded in impossible ways. Captain, we can't go in there, Chen said. The reality distortions will tear us apart. Will they? Chen paused. Probably, but not definitely. Elena grinned. Then we have a chance. She pushed the throttle to maximum and dove into the Shattered Sphere. The universe went insane around them. Up became down. Port became starboard. The ship's instruments showed them in 3 different locations at once. Alarms screamed warnings about impossible physics, but the ship held together. Because it was built to hold together when everything went wrong. Because every system had backups. Because nothing depended on perfection. Behind them, the Concordat ships tried to follow. Their advanced sensors couldn't handle the contradictory data. Their AI navigation systems froze, trying to process the impossible. 2 ships collided. 3 more had to pull back, their systems failing. The 50-cent Freedom flew deeper into the chaos, guided by human intuition and sheer stubborn luck. They emerged on the other side, battered, smoking, and victorious. The Concordat fleet had lost them. The archive world hung in space like a tomb. Once, it had been a library planet, a place where the ancient civilizations stored all their knowledge. Now it was dead, its lights dark, its surface covered in buildings that no one remembered how to read. Elena brought the 50-cent Freedom down carefully. The ship was holding together, but barely. The journey through the Shattered Sphere had damaged systems that were already struggling. They needed information, and this dead world might have it. Why are we here? Rivera asked as they suited up. Because we're running blind, Elena said. We have an FTL core we don't understand. We're being chased by everyone with guns and money. We need to know what we're really dealing with. Chen nodded in agreement. The collapse destroyed all the advanced civilizations at once, but nobody knows why. If we can find out what happened, maybe we can avoid making the same mistakes. The archive building was massive, carved from a single piece of crystalline material that still glowed faintly from within. The doors opened when Chen touched them. Inside, millions of data storage units lined the walls, reaching up into darkness. How do we find anything in here? Torres asked. This place is huge. Chen pulled out a scanning device he had built from spare parts. The ancient civilizations all use similar data formats. I can search for keywords. Let me try collapse, system failure, things like that. It took 3 hours, but Chen finally found something. A data crystal, hidden in a section labeled Warnings, Final Archive. They brought it back to the ship. Chen connected it to their computer systems, using adapters made from wire and determination. The data was old, corrupted in places, but readable. What they found changed everything. The archive held the final records of a civilization called the Unity. They had been the most advanced species in the galaxy before the collapse. The data crystal contained their last desperate attempts to understand what was killing them. Chen translated it aloud as the crew gathered around. The Unity built something called the network. It was a galaxy-wide system that connected everything. Ships, cities, planets, even individual homes. All powered by quantum-linked processors. Everything dependent on everything else. That sounds efficient, Rivera said. Too efficient, Chen replied. According to this, the network had a single point of catastrophic failure. When one critical node was damaged in a war, the cascading failures spread across the entire galaxy in minutes. Every civilization connected to the network died at once. Elena felt cold. They were all too connected. When one part broke, everything broke. Exactly. And they couldn't fix it because they didn't understand it anymore. The network had been managing itself for generations. The people who built it were long dead. Nobody knew how to repair it manually. They had forgotten how. What about Earth? Nakamura asked. Why did humans survive? Chen scrolled through more data. Humanity was noted in the archives. The Unity called us primitives. We hadn't developed FTL travel yet. We weren't part of the network. When it collapsed, we were too backward to die with everyone else. Torres laughed bitterly. We survived because we were stupid. No, Elena said firmly. We survived because we weren't dependent. Because we knew how to fix things ourselves. Because every human colony was isolated and had to be self-sufficient. Chen nodded slowly. The Unity's final warning is clear. They're telling anyone who finds this not to make the same mistake. Don't build systems so advanced that you can't repair them. Don't make everything dependent on one technology. Keep redundancy. Keep simplicity. Keep human knowledge alive. The 50-cent philosophy, Elena said quietly. They learned it too late. Before they could discuss more, the proximity alarm shrieked. Jackson's voice came from the bridge. Captain, they found us. The Concordat fleet. They're dropping out of FTL now. Elena ran to the bridge. Through the viewport, she could see the Concordat ships appearing. 1, 2, 10, 20, more than before. They had brought everything they had. A communication request came through. Elena accepted it. The face of Ambassador Threll appeared on the screen. He was an insectoid species, with compound eyes and mandibles that clicked when he spoke. Captain Vasquez, Threll said. His translator made his voice sound cold and mechanical. You have led us on quite a chase. It ends now. Surrender the FTL core, and we will let you live. No, Elena said simply. Threll's mandibles clicked in what might have been anger. You are in no position to refuse. We have you surrounded. Your ship is damaged. You cannot escape. You don't understand what you're asking for, Elena said. We found the archives. We know what caused the collapse. The FTL cores, the network, all of it. You're trying to rebuild the same technology that destroyed your ancestors. We are trying to survive, Threll replied. The galaxy is dying. Resources are running out. We need FTL travel to reach new worlds, to trade, to rebuild our civilizations. The core you possess is our last hope. It's not hope. It's a death sentence. The ancient civilizations built technology they couldn't repair. When it broke, they died. You're doing the same thing. Then what do you suggest? That we live like you? Scavenging ruins? Holding ships together with primitive materials? We are better than that. Elena felt anger rising. Better? You're sitting in ships you can't fix, using weapons you don't understand, trying to recreate technology that killed everyone who made it. We live in junk because we know how to fix junk. We survive because we never forgot how things work. You offer us barbarism as salvation, Threll said with contempt. I offer you the truth, but you're too proud to accept it. Threll's image disappeared. A moment later, the Concordat fleet opened fire. Energy beams lanced through space. The first volley hit the 50-cent Freedom shields, which were really just repurposed mining equipment. The shields held for 3 seconds, then collapsed. Evasive maneuvers, Elena shouted. Torres took the helm, throwing the ship into a wild dive. More shots followed them, burning through the thin atmosphere of the archive world below. We can't fight them all, Nakamura said. We're outgunned 100 to 1. Chen was frantically working at his station. Captain, I have an idea. It's insane. All our ideas are insane, Elena said. What is it? The Concordat weapons are all standardized. They use the same power frequency. If we can grab one of their disabled weapons and reverse the polarity, we can turn their own firepower against them, Elena finished. Do it. What followed was the craziest battle maneuver Elena had ever attempted. She flew straight at the Concordat flagship, dodging fire, while Rivera and Chen extended the ship's salvage claws. They were designed for grabbing scrap metal, but metal was metal. The flagship fired. Elena dodged at the last second, and the shot hit one of their own escort ships instead. The escort's weapons array exploded, pieces of it floating in space. There! Chen shouted. That piece, the one with the 3 emitters. Elena grabbed it with the salvage claws. It was still sparking with energy, damaged but functional. Chen immediately started working, connecting the alien weapon to their power systems, using methods that would make any proper engineer scream. This shouldn't work, Rivera said, watching Chen splice alien technology directly into human wiring. It won't work perfectly, Chen agreed. But it doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to fire. The flagship fired again. This time, Elena fired back, using the Concordat's own weapon. The effect was immediate and devastating. The flagship's shields were designed to deflect their own weapon frequencies, but Chen had altered the frequency slightly when he connected it to the human power systems. The shields didn't recognize it as friendly fire. The shot punched through and hit the flagship's command deck. Again! Elena shouted. They swooped through the battle, grabbing damaged weapons from disabled Concordat ships and adding them to their growing collection. The 50-cent Freedom became a flying nightmare, sprouting alien weapons from every available surface. Each one was connected differently, powered by incompatible systems that somehow worked together. The Concordat fleet couldn't adapt. Their ships were built to fight enemies who followed rules, who used standard tactics. They didn't know how to fight a ship that made up new rules every few minutes. One of their destroyers tried to ram the 50-cent Freedom. Elena dodged, grabbed one of its weapon pods as they passed, and used it to shoot another Concordat ship. They're breaking formation, Torres reported. Half of them are retreating. Threll's face appeared on the screen again. His compound eyes showed something that might have been fear. How are you doing this? He asked. Human engineering, Elena said. We don't build perfect ships. We build ships that keep working when everything goes wrong. And right now, everything is going wrong for you. The flagship fired a final desperate volley. Every weapon at once, all aimed at the 50-cent Freedom. Chen acted instantly. He reversed the polarity on all their stolen weapons and fired simultaneously. The two walls of energy met in space between the ships. The collision created a shockwave that rippled outward, disabling sensors and scrambling systems on both sides. When the interference cleared, The Concordat flagship was drifting, systems dead. The rest of their fleet jumped to FTL and fled. Elena sat back in her chair, breathing hard. They had won against impossible odds. By being unpredictable, by being imperfect, by being human. 3 days after the battle, the Concordat sent a different message. Not a threat this time, a request. Ambassador Threll appeared on the screen again, but something had changed. He looked smaller somehow, less confident. His ship floated nearby, engines damaged and barely functioning. "Captain Vasquez," he said, "I need your help." Elena had expected anger, threats, maybe another attack. Not this. "My help? Our flagship is dying. The battle damaged our primary power core. Our engineers say it cannot be repaired. The systems are too integrated. If one part fails, it cascades through everything." Threll's mandibles clicked softly. "We have 2,000 crew aboard. In 6 hours, life support will fail. We cannot evacuate everyone in time." Elena looked at Chen. He was already checking his instruments, scanning the Concordat flagship from a distance. "The power core is ancient architect technology," Chen said. "By conventional understanding, it's unrepairable. The damage has spread through the quantum linkages." "But," Elena prompted. Chen smiled. "But we don't use conventional understanding." 2 hours later, Elena and Chen were aboard the Concordat flagship with a team of human engineers. They brought boxes of what Threll's engineers called primitive materials: wire, tape, spare circuit boards, tools that looked like they belonged in a museum. The Concordat's chief engineer, a being named Kellis, with 6 arms and crystalline skin, watched in horror as Chen opened up their power core. "You cannot simply cut into the quantum matrices," Kellis protested. "The balance will—" "The balance is already destroyed," Chen interrupted. "That's why it's failing. We're not trying to restore the balance. We're trying to bypass it entirely." What Chen did next would be talked about in engineering circles for decades. He ripped out the damaged sections of the ancient power core and replaced them with human-made components that had no business working with architect technology. He connected quantum processors to copper wire. He used duct tape to hold power regulators in place. He built adapters from spare parts that cost maybe 5 credits each. It was ugly. It was inefficient. It violated every principle of proper engineering. It worked. The power core hummed back to life. Not at full capacity, maybe 60%, but it was stable. The ship had power. Life support came back online. Kellis stared at the repair in disbelief. This shouldn't be possible. The quantum frequencies don't match. The power distribution is uneven. By every measure, this should fail immediately. "But it's not failing," Chen pointed out. "That's the difference between perfect engineering and practical engineering. Perfect engineering fails completely when anything goes wrong. Practical engineering limps along and keeps working." Word of the repair spread quickly. Other Concordat ships that had been damaged in the battle approached, asking for help. Then ships from other factions, the Hegemony Corporation, the Syndicate, even isolated alien colonies that had heard rumors of humans who could fix anything. Elena saw an opportunity, not just to repair ships, but to change how the galaxy thought about technology. She began broadcasting a message on every frequency she could reach. "This is Captain Elena Vasquez of the 50-Cent Freedom. For 2,000 years, everyone has been trying to rebuild what was lost in the collapse. You've been trying to recreate the perfect technology of the ancient civilizations. It's not working. It will never work. Because perfection is fragile, and this galaxy has no room for fragile things anymore." The message continued. "Humanity survived because we were never perfect. We survived because we knew how to fix broken things. We knew how to make do with less. We knew how to keep going when everything fell apart. And now we're offering to teach you. Not how to rebuild the past, how to build something new, something that lasts. The response was overwhelming. Some species rejected the idea completely. The proud ones, the ones who couldn't accept that they needed help from the primitive humans. They continued trying to resurrect dead technology. Most of them failed. But others listened. They came to learn. Alien engineers who were tired of maintaining systems they didn't understand. Colony leaders desperate to keep their people alive. Even some Concordat officials, quietly not wanting their pride known. The 50-cent freedom became the center of something new. Elena expanded the ship, not by replacing it, but by adding to it. New modules, each one different, each one built by different species using the human philosophy of practical engineering. The ship grew into a fleet. Dozens of vessels, each one a unique mixture of technologies that shouldn't work together but did. Human crews taught alien engineers. Alien engineers taught humans new techniques. Knowledge flowed in both directions. Chen set up what he called the Academy of Practical Engineering. It wasn't a fancy school with classrooms and lectures. It was a workshop where people learned by doing, by taking things apart, by making mistakes and fixing them, by understanding through hands-on experience. The ancient civilizations had all the knowledge in the galaxy, Chen told his students. But knowledge isn't the same as understanding. They knew their technology worked, but they didn't understand why. When it broke, all their knowledge was useless. We're not going to make that mistake. 6 months after the battle, Elena received a visitor. Sarah Park from New Haven Colony arrived in a ship that looked only slightly better than the last time they met. "You've started something," Sarah said without preamble. "The whole Reaches is talking about it. Human colonies are connecting with each other, sharing technology, trading knowledge. For the first time in 2,000 years, we're building something instead of just surviving." "That was the idea," Elena said. "Some people think you're crazy, trying to unite humanity, teach aliens, rebuild the galaxy from scrap." "I probably am crazy." Sarah smiled. "Good. Crazy is what we need right now. I'm in. New Haven wants to join your coalition, and we're bringing 15 other colonies with us." The coalition grew. Not quickly, but steadily. Human settlements across the galaxy connected through the FTL network that Chen had built around the original architect core. It wasn't fast or efficient. Messages sometimes took days to arrive. But it worked. Other species joined too, the ones who understood that survival mattered more than pride. They learned to build ships the human way, ugly, mismatched, held together with improvised solutions. Ships that could fail in a dozen places and keep flying. 5 years after finding the FTL core, Elena stood on the observation deck of the 50-cent Freedom and looked at what they had built. The ship was now the size of a small station, a chaotic mixture of human and alien architecture. Around it, hundreds of other ships floated in loose formation, the fleet of the new coalition. Torres joined her at the viewport. "You ever think about what would have happened if we'd sold that core? We'd be rich, retired on some paradise planet." "Every day," Elena admitted. "But then I see this, and I know we made the right choice." Torres observed. "We're not the most advanced civilization in the galaxy. No, but we're the most resilient. And in a galaxy full of ruins, that's what matters." Chen approached with a datapad. "Captain, I wanted to show you something. The FTL core from the architect ship. Remember I said it was dying? 5 years, you said. It should be almost dead by now." "That's what I thought. But look at this." Chen showed her the scan results. "It's stable, actually getting stronger. I think being connected to all these different power sources, all these incompatible systems, is somehow sustaining it. The chaos is keeping it alive." Elena laughed. "Of course it is. The ancient architects built it to run on perfect stable power. We're feeding it messy, uneven, constantly fluctuating energy from a dozen different sources, and it's thriving on it." The 50-cent spaceship saving the billion-credit technology, Torres said. There's poetry in that. 50 years later, historians would mark Elena's message as the beginning of the 50-cent Renaissance, the period when the galaxy stopped trying to resurrect the past and started building a new future. The new civilization that grew wasn't like the ancient ones. It was messier. Every colony built things differently. Every species contributed their own methods. Nothing was standardized. Nothing was perfect. But it worked. It survived. And most importantly, when things broke, people knew how to fix them. The ancient civilizations had built palaces that reached the stars. Beautiful, efficient, perfect. When the storm came, their palaces fell, and everyone inside died. Humanity had built shacks from scrap metal and duct tape. When the storm came, the shacks shook and groaned and leaked, but they stood. And when the storm passed, humans walked out and started building again. Now, from 50 cents and salvage technology, from practical knowledge and stubborn determination, a new galaxy was rising. Not perfect, not elegant, but unbreakable. Elena Vasquez died at 90, aboard the 50-cent Freedom, surrounded by crew from 20 different species. Her last words were reported across the coalition. Keep it flying. Keep it broken. Keep it fixable. That's the secret. That's always been the secret. The ship flew on, older and stranger and more patched together than ever, but still flying. Because that's what humans did. They built things that shouldn't work, and then they made them work anyway. And they taught the galaxy to do the same. The 50-cent Freedom became a legend, a museum, a school, and most importantly, a symbol. Proof that perfection wasn't necessary, that making do was enough. That survival didn't require the best technology, just the stubbornness to keep fixing what you had. The ancient civilizations had reached for the stars and built wonders. Humanity reached for the scrap heap and built something that lasted. And in the end, lasting was all that mattered.